Few topics in religious history have generated as much fear, fascination, and confusion as Satanism and demonology. For centuries, these words have been used interchangeably in popular culture, both evoking imagery of devils, forbidden rites, and rebellion against the divine. Yet beneath the sensational myths lies a much more complex and evolving reality. Satanism and demonology are not the same thing. One concerns belief systems and philosophies that engage with the figure of Satan in symbolic or religious ways, while the other is a scholarly and theological study of evil spirits as described in various traditions. To understand both, one must look across time, from ancient myth to medieval theology, from Enlightenment skepticism to modern subcultures. Long before the word Satan appeared, civilizations across Mesopotamia, Egypt, Greece, and Persia described malevolent or chaotic beings, not as embodiments of pure evil, but as forces of disorder within the cosmos. In Mesopotamia, beings such as Pazuzu or Lamashtu represented disease-bearing winds and nightmares. They were feared, but also invoked for protection, showing how early demonology blurred the line between harmful and helpful forces. In Zoroastrianism, the dualism between Ahura Mazda, the wise lord, and Angra Mainyu, the destructive spirit, prefigured the later idea of cosmic good versus evil. The Hebrew Bible gradually evolved the concept of Ha-Satan, not yet the prince of hell, but a divine prosecutor, a being who tests faith and challenges humanity. These early spirits were part of a moral ecology, symbols of imbalance rather than rebellion. By the early centuries of Christianity, the figure of Satan had transformed from a symbolic adversary into the arch-enemy of God. Texts such as the Book of Revelation and apocryphal writings painted him as a fallen angel leading a host of rebels against divine order. Demonology, meanwhile, became a branch of theology. Early church fathers like Augustine of Hippo and Thomas Aquinas debated whether demons were purely spiritual beings or corrupt remnants of angelic creation. They believed demons could influence thoughts, tempt humanity, and cause illness, yet were still subject to divine authority. In the Middle Ages, this theological demonology merged with folk superstition. Peasants spoke of incubus and succubus spirits, witches' familiars, and crossroads demons. The church codified these fears into warnings. Demons were everywhere, and Satan's war was constant. Between the 15th and 17th centuries, fear of demons reached its peak in Europe. The publication of manuals like the Malleus Maleficarum fused theology with persecution. Women, the poor, and social outsiders were accused of serving Satan through witchcraft. To theologians, the devil became the ultimate rebel, and witchcraft was seen as a pact with him. But modern historians recognize that this period said more about social anxiety and patriarchal control than about any real organized satanic cults. During this era, demonology became a pseudoscience. Learned men compiled catalogs of demons, their ranks, sigils, and powers. The Ars Goetia, part of the Lesser Key of Solomon, listed 72 infernal spirits, a systematization of the medieval imagination. Yet even then, these works were as much magical literature as religious doctrine. By the 18th century, rationalism and science eroded the literal belief in demons. The devil survived in art and literature as a symbol of rebellion, freedom, and doubt. Writers like John Milton portrayed Satan as tragic and proud, better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. Romantics such as Byron and Shelley later turned him into the archetype of the defiant hero, a figure who questions authority and seeks self-determination. Meanwhile, scholars of folklore began to treat demon stories as cultural artifacts, not evidence of supernatural warfare. Modern Satanism emerged not as devil worship, but as symbolic rebellion and philosophy. There are several distinct strands. We can first observe theistic Satanism, small groups or individuals who view Satan as a real deity or liberator figure, often emphasizing personal autonomy and opposition to oppression. Quite different, instead, Levian Satanism, founded by Anton Lavey in 1966 with the Satanic Bible. It is an atheistic philosophy that uses Satan as a metaphor for human instinct, self-empowerment, and rejection of hypocrisy. To be noted also the Satanic Temple, a modern secular movement advocating for freedom of thought, satire of religious dogma, and the separation of church and state. They employ Satan as a symbol of protest, not as a being of worship. While mainstream religion often conflates these groups with evil, most modern Satanists reject criminality, cruelty, or supernaturalism. For them, Satan is a metaphor for questioning authority, not a master to serve. Contemporary demonology now exists in three forms: academic study, historians and theologians examining the evolution of demonic imagery; religious demonology. Some Christian denominations still maintain rites of exorcism and belief in literal spiritual evil. Popular culture, films, games, and novels use demonology as a storytelling language, a mirror for human fears of temptation, obsession, and loss of control. In cinema, demons represent what psychology calls the shadow self, the parts of humanity we repress. From The Exorcist to modern horror series, they externalize guilt, trauma, and moral anxiety. Demonology, once a catalog of infernal hierarchies, has become a vocabulary for exploring the darkness within. To many religious believers, Satanism remains synonymous with evil, a rejection of divine good. To others, particularly modern humanists, artists, and philosophers, it symbolizes intellectual independence and resistance to blind faith. This divide often reflects deeper cultural tensions between moral absolutism and moral relativism, between faith and skepticism, between fear of the unknown and fascination with it. In this way, Satanism and demonology continue to evolve as mirrors of human society. They reflect not only our fear of evil, but our curiosity about freedom, power, and forbidden knowledge. Halloween, born from Celtic Samhain and Christian All Hallows Eve, remains the one night when stories of demons and devils return freely to popular imagination. Modern Halloween owes less to theology than to theater, but it endures as an echo of humanity's oldest ritual, the attempt to face the dark and make it entertaining. People may dress as devils, light candles and pumpkins, and tell tales of possession, yet behind the masks lies the same ancient instinct that shaped demonology itself, to give shape to fear so that we can confront it. Satanism and demonology are at their core reflections of humanity's struggle to understand evil, choice, and rebellion. In their most destructive forms, they have been used to justify persecution. In their modern, symbolic forms, they challenge conformity and explore the psychology of belief. Across time, from the tablets of Babylon to the digital age, the same question echoes: is evil an external power, or is it born from within? Perhaps the lasting fascination with demons and devils says less about supernatural beings and more about ourselves, about our need to personify what we fear, to name it, and in doing so, to take back control of it. Thank you for listening. Join our always growing legion. Discover SATANWORLD.